some hostility, and yet defeated Calypsonians and Babylon like this. We war, we work.
Hey. Dum, 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 da. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me apologize for a late start. We had a few little glitches that we needed to sort. But I don't know if you heard me with the doom 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 doom. I think, Short need to remix that song because I think I could do a good job as backup. I think. In my dreams, I hope. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome this afternoon to We Are the Ones. And we are going to have a wonderful We Are the One session today. My first guest is already here, but I just wanted to share two little things before, and then we will do one in the break. We can do it in the break. Yeah, no problem. As we all know, Rick James has passed, and I'd like to extend my deepest, when people reach a certain age, I don't like to say condolences because life is about being rich and full. And I mean, what I'd love to say to Rick James' family is just give us more of what he left and find ways to open up the avenue so we can see them again. And I know he was a forerunner in so many different ways. And I just want to celebrate his passing and wish that more of us would find our niche. I'm not saying to be like Rick James, make it clear, but find our niche in service to our country and do it for the service and not for what we think we should get or we're entitled to get. So, Rick, journey on and Godspeed. So that's the first thing I'd want to get out the way. The other thing I want to get out the way is now, yesterday, for those of you who are on Facebook, on social media, I think on Instagram too, I posted some pictures of a meal I had yesterday. Now, I had reasons to be up at the Hospitality Institute. You know, that place over at Dutchman's Bay where they have a restaurant, a training restaurant for our young people. And I had a meal there. It was 3 courses. Don't ask me to pronounce any of the courses because they were all, they're the France and the Italiano names. But the meal was scrumptious. Gastronomic delight. Only one small problem. The portion kind of like a small. I can't say that too loud because they told me it was the USDA amount. So it was the right amount. Tabitha, I need paper. It was the right amount. Portion sizes, they told me. But boy, it is good. Bang good. I am encouraging Antiguans and Barbadians to go up there and support our young people. I think between 12 and 2. Give them a call at Hospitality Institute at Dutchman's Bay. Tell them Petra said, you must see if I can work out 1 or 2 free food. Like a discount thing, work with me. So, I just wanted to share that. It was really, really, Babu, I forgot there. It was really, 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 okay, I overdo. Kenny, I forgot there. They have vegetarian food up Hospitality Institute. You have vegetarian, you're veggie, or you eat anything. You eat meat and chicken as well? You eat meat and chicken? You eat pork? Oh, jeez. 3/4 of your life gone, boss. Watch your step. Anyways, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, as I indicated, those of you who would have seen the information I shared earlier, we have in studios with us, our first guest is Mr. Victor Babu Samuel. Now, let me tell y'all, before Babu says anything, my first knowledge of Big Babu, because apparently I went back and found out about Little Babu, but my first knowledge of Big Babu, man, I like it because he been arranged for band. Now here's the funny thing, I like the band, but I didn't want the band to win because I have family in the band is practically family. But that was my first, he does a bang of people kind of thing. Oh, and Babu on this station, we talk like a dialect, right? Because Auntie Gaudi. So, let me tell you, we're the ones. On We're the Ones, we talk life. We talk about things that impact on us First, we begin at home, the Point. We begin in the Point and Villa community. I'll go surprise some people with some of your business just now. And then we go out into the wider community of Antigua and Barbuda, and we go regional and international. And when I mention regional, because you're a pan man, Professor Past.
Yes.
Right. So I want to extend from my little love of his music, because I'm a lover of his music. This is yours? I'm a lover of his music, and he's been here a couple of times for Moods of Pan, so I want to extend from my little neck of the woods to down in Trinidad, to the family, to all the Professor Fillmore fans. Again, another life that we need to celebrate. I don't like the condolences thing, so celebrate his life and do more in his memory. That is how I want to remember him. So, on that note then, let us discuss Victor Babu Samuel. Well, Babu, everybody knows you as a pan man. Pan arranger, but I want to begin by looking back at Victor Babu. Victor Babu Samuel, where you come from?
Church Lane.
Which part Church Lane?
Just by Public Works.
So you come from up St. John Street and you turn to the little road, like you're going towards, you're going back towards Deanery. No.
Going towards Big Church.
Yeah, the big church. Oh, okay, all right, okay. And that's where you grew up?
Yeah, well, they called the area at the time South Sap Alley.
Never hear that one day yet. South Sap Alley. And how was life in South Sap Alley?
Well, I was just a mere kid, So kids must have manners to their elders. And that's what it was. It was an area where my father, my uncles, my aunts, cousins, this was like a family
yard. Okay.
Right to the east high school fence.
Okay.
Antigua Girls High School. Then I moved from there. My parents moved from there when I was like 8 years old and moved to Grace Farm.
Okay.
So from that I've been a Grace Farmian.
Tell us a little bit about your school life. We never hear about Grace Farmian yet.
Well, they hear about that
Grace, Dicty Grace Farmian. Tell us about your school life.
Okay, the first school I went to was Teacher Merle.
Okay.
Her school was down Bishopgate Street. The first day I went to school, Teacher Merle beating people for coming late. This is my first day at school. My mother leave me there. There she is lining up people, beating them for coming late. And I, with one speed, back up the road.
What? You're allowed to do this?
Run back home.
And what did your mother do?
Carry my right back.
Of course. Probably you should have better. Oh, yes, you were little. You would not have known.
Like 5 years old.
And you got the legs?
No.
Oh, well, then it worked.
No, the thing is, since I'm small, and you see me a little bag of bones, I don't like people hitting me.
I don't think many of us do.
And if you hit me, even if you're bigger than me, I'm going to fight back.
Okay.
That's why I'm such a quiety, silent person, always by myself and stuff, because I don't like people hitting me, pushing me, doing that kind of stuff.
Fair enough.
Since I was small, attempts to just be by myself.
Okay, and then after Teacher Merle?
Seventh-day Adventist school.
Oh, you were Adventist.
No, I'm
you
not
went.
an
You just went to the school.
I
Okay.
just went to the school. Then from Seventh-day Adventist to St. John Boys School. Then from Boys School to Grammar School.
Oh, you're a grammarian.
Yes.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Second best school in Antigua.
No.
Maybe a
number
second
one.
best. Maybe a third. I don't know. Hello.
Number one.
We will discuss that at another time. So, when did you first get exposed to music? Notice I didn't say pan. Music in general.
Well, that was a situation where there was this band right in Church Lane. They called Playboys.
What kind of band was that?
Guitar, bass, electrical band.
Okay.
People like Pat Edwards, I can remember Pat Edwards, he was the keyboardist. This guy they call Cotton Wheel, he was the bassist. And a guy named Winfield used to play guitar. In that time, it was like a combo because they didn't have no brass.
Okay.
And that's where I started to go around the band house and stuff.
They were older than you, though.
Of course, I'm
Okay.
5 years old.
Okay. So this is way back when you were 5. That's true because
Yeah.
you said that's up South Up Alley, aka Church Lane.
And there was a day they had a guy drumming. I guess it was his first time playing drums. My uncle used to play pan in Hell's Gate, which is Pat King. Right, so he used to carry me around with him and stuff. So I developed an interest in playing the drums. So I used to make my own drum set in the house. Butter pan, cheese pan, take the top off to make cymbals and stamp on the floor for the bass drum.
Okay.
And when the radio goes on, I'm doing my own thing. With
Accompanying the
radio,
music.
Right?
Okay.
And my mother used to complain, boy, what noise you making in the house? And my father used to say, leave him alone because we sure where he is.
That is true.
He is not outside getting in nothing with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I went in the band house and they were telling the drummer, look, you're playing the wrong beat.
This was about how old, though?
That time I was like about 6.
6. Okay, go ahead.
And drummer, you're playing the wrong beat. And he get vexed. He get up and walk off the drum. As a kid, I go on the drum and start playing. And it was Pat that said, but look, the little boy, they play the right beat. The little boy for Jack play the right beat. And from that, I started to drum with the band.
From 6? Wow. From 6, you know, Babu?
Yeah.
You're a maestro man.
No, it's what the talent that God gave me. It just came out that early.
So you started out in your musical life as a drummer. And then where did you go from there drumming?
From drumming now, I went at boys' school. They had a steel band in the school. Rising Sun people used to come and give us lessons.
Okay.
Now, I wasn't in the, because at that time they would say it's only the guys in the senior classes can go. I was in junior 3.
Okay.
So only from senior 1 up to senior 3A
Could go to drum.
to
the pan classes, yes.
And one day I'm there standing and watching a guy from senior 2A or 3A catching his ass to learn a simple piece of thing. I'm just standing up watching. And then at one point now, I said to him, give me the sticks. And you know, he big, so he going like, give the sticks, so what? I said, give me the sticks. Eventually, give me the sticks, and I just start playing the parts. And the teacher at the time, the pan teacher at the time, who was Vincent Freeland, said, the little boy, he have in this class here for now. And from there, I started to excel. Go from one pan to the next, to the next, to the next. Eventually, the band...
So, wait, before you... Oh, sorry, go ahead, finish your point.
Eventually, the band had learned about 4 or 5 tunes. And I knew all the tunes on all the pans.
On all the pans?
Yeah.
And you were not yet 10?
No.
Hold on. So, when you say you knew all the tunes, they were teaching you how? They show you the notes and you play the notes in the pan? Oh, how I learned to play. Okay.
But in my case, it was slightly different. I learned the tune on one pan and I used my ears.
And feel it out on the next.
Feel it out on the next.
And you were not yet 10?
I was like about 9, 8, 9.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how did the other boys respond to you?
They used to laugh at me. They used to call me bag of bones. 'Cause as you see, I'm still a bag of bones. And
So
that
your
is a
first
name I
Babu.
never-
That's not how the Babu came about?
No,
Oh, okay. All right.
I never really, in those days, guys will take a nickname and make fight and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, bag of bones.
You just
fine.
ignore them.
I'm a bag
Okay,
of bones.
fine. But I'm going to play.
So,
So
that was
how did you engage with Mr. Freeland then, the instructor at the time?
it was just standing at the side looking.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he realized that, okay, like this guy,
Looks interested.
me and him became friends. At the end of the day, I come to realize he and my father
Mm-hmm.
were good friends also.
Okay. Okay.
So he began to take a different kind of interest
In you.
in me above the others.
So how was the rest of school at that? Since you were playing every instrument, how was the rest of school at the time?
Normal, it was just a normal thing.
Okay.
Our bag of bones. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, all right, all right. And then from school, what was your next move? So you
From
basically,
school?
so wait, just for the record, so you played drums, then you moved from drums to pan.
Mm-hmm.
You ever take up any other instrument?
Bass guitar a little bit, keyboards a little bit.
You
I can go on both instruments and do what I want to do.
you read music?
No,
Okay, so you play by ear.
I'm a natural.
You don't read music. So okay, so after school, then what?
After school is home.
No, I mean when you were when you finished school.
Oh, when I finished
Mhm.
school, I took up pan professionally.
Explain what that means.
Pan became my life.
No, I know, but
Um,
this would have been in about what year? What year was
I'll
this about?
be like 1973, 74.
Right. So what was there to do with pan in 1973, 74 in Antigua?
Develop my
Your
self.
skills.
Yeah.
So where did you work besides playing pan?
No.
So you played out,
yeah.
and there was
And
enough.
not getting paid.
Because I was just going to ask you if there's enough
And
was
not
enough
getting
work at the
paid.
time.
Not getting paid.
So how did you live?
My parents was taking care of me.
Okay.
My first paid job was working on a lobster boat for this guy named Papa Duck.
I know that name.
He buy lobsters from the fishermen. It had him and a guy named Lionel and Destin.
I know those. I'm just saying
Destin father.
I know those names. Mhm.
Right? Straight them. What the boat does do is 3 speedboats. They race out around the corner by Halcyon,
Mhm.
out there as the boats are
Coming
coming
in,
in, and who first reach,
Mhm.
they sell.
Okay.
So I was like a hand on the boat, on Papa Duck boat. The more lobster you get to buy is the more pay you get.
Okay.
So basically that was my first paying
How was that?
job. Rough.
How long did you last?
About a year.
You last long. Why was it rough?
When the water is rough, the boat ride hard.
Okay. Could you swim?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. You're from the era when we learned to swim
Mhm.
early. So in between you leaving school, you said you developed your pan skills. What did you do?
Well, I actually developed both skills, pan and drums.
Yes, I have seen you drum now you mention it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my move at that time in my head was to develop my skills, become a master of what I'm doing,
Why?
and time will pay me back.
Why you felt it was important? What was it about pan in 1970? What year was this? 73?
73, 74.
73, 74. Me just born. What was it about pan at that time that
I-
made you feel you needed to master it?
I can't explain. It's what old people just say it's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
It was my calling. There was nothing else interesting me.
What band you played with at the time?
Superstars.
Superstars was where? That you remember.
First, their headquarters, their panyard was at grammar school at the time.
Okay.
Then they moved from grammar school and came down to Newgate Street.
So were they like a junior grammar school?
No,
No, they didn't have any affiliation with the school.
it's in the school. The majority of the players were from grammar school.
Who founded grammar school? Superstars, as you can remember.
Noni.
Nani Bayam?
Bayam.
Okay. Yes. Oh, I forgot, and his wife passed too. I needed to say a word for her as well. Yes. Okay. All right. So you played in Superstars. That was your first band.
Yeah.
What tell us about Superstars, what you can remember.
At that time, Superstars was what you would call the people's band. Harmonites was what you would call the high society
Left
band.
my band. I don't know that way I mean to say.
No, it is a fact. It is a fact. Superstars was the band that had, look, when you hear Superstars going on road, tongue full of people.
Mm-hmm.
Tongue full of people.
Okay.
From little to big. Small, medium and large. And even extra large and extra large. Tongue full of people.
Did you all ever win any
They win one panorama.
at least many years
1973.
many years that you get tea for another one, praise the Lord. Okay. And then what happened?
And then in 1974, my father and myself started to get into crosswise.
What, you were rebelling?
Yes.
You were rebelling, weren't you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was growing lax,
Huh?
and he don't want that in his house.
Okay.
And I reach an age where I decide what I want, not what.
How old were you about
want.
then, Babu?
15.
Babu, you were still a child. 15?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I decide what I want for my life, not what you want for me,
Hmm?
but what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had begun to say this panting ain't going nowhere.
Like you said, you weren't making a living from it. You had to go do this other thing that you didn't necessarily like. So he wasn't wrong based on what he was seeing.
Okay, fine.
So what did you do at 15 when you put on your locks?
I move
Move, go away.
to Bowlands
By who?
by some other players from Superstars.
Okay.
It
Y'all had
was
a gang house?
not a gang house. We
I don't
were
mean it in a
no gang.
negative way. I don't mean it. Okay, you had a house where all of y'all lived together?
No, a few of us, which were all the locksmen.
Which mean I'll either move out or get thrown out.
Yes.
Okay.
And it had some guys from Bowlands used to come by Superstars to take lessons. At that age, I was the teacher.
So you taught lessons in Superstars from the age
Yeah.
of 15. Okay.
Then when I moved to Bowlands, I didn't know that they had pans in a building
In Bolands?
in Bowlands with nobody teaching them.
Pan in a building in Bolands in 1973?
74.
74? Okay.
That's how South Stars came about.
Okay. And who founded South Stars?
The Bowlands people.
The Bolands
but
people. Okay.
I'm the one that gave them the name South Stars.
And you, I guess, were the trainer.
Yes.
So you were the first trainer for South Stars. And what happened to South Stars?
Eventually they fall apart.
Why?
In 1979, they were the first band in Antigua to get a sponsor that gave a band more than $2,000.
That's a lot of money back then.
Sealy Mattress Company gave them $10,000.
Oh? That's like $100,000 today?
All right.
Okay.
Gave them $10,000, and the guy the captain and his committee decide, okay, they get $10,000, so they're doing like the big bands in town.
Meaning?
They go to Trinidad for a ranger, and go to Trinidad for a pan tuner, and that killed the band.
So who was tuning the pans before they decided to make use of the sponsors' money? I know you were arranging, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Gay Tooks.
Gay Tooks was the pan tune at the
Tooks
time.
was the
So
tuner.
okay, so they weren't satisfied.
I can't say.
Well, no, it wasn't that they weren't satisfied.
They just were
The bands in
following
town.
the big bands in town.
Hell's
as
Gate was
in-
using overseas tuner.
No.
Hell's Gate I was at
Hell's
Manning.
Gate never used a
Overseas
overseas
tuner.
tuner
Okay.
or arranger.
Okay.
You had Harmonites using Roseman. Campbell was the
For 1974, Harmonize using Roseman. Roseman did Harmonize pans when I was playing in the late 80s.
Yeah, you late.
Damn.
Roseman has
Okay.
been there for years.
Okay.
Then you had Bob doing Superstars and Philip as the arranger.
You remember all of these things, Jessel? Okay, go ahead.
Then Halcyon had Norman.
Mm-hmm.
Norman James. He's deceased now. Doing their pans, and in 1975 they brought in Belly.
I know that name.
Gerald
Trinidad.
Belly
Yes,
Strauss,
yes, I know that name.
the arranger for Carib Tokyo at the time.
Okay.
So they decide
To
they're
do
going
that.
to
So did they
follow
make it to the
suit.
competition that year?
Well, at the time, yeah, all bands just go to the
Okay, so South
competition.
Stars participated. How did they do?
Participated with half of the band not playing.
Why?
Because
Because
the
they didn't
village-
want-
The village rebel against it.
Okay.
The village rebel. The village say, it's Babu who take us from scratch to where we reach. And if we reach at a part now where we can award Babu properly for all the work that he has done and get nothing, why are you spending the money to bring?
King continues to
Trinidadians.
have. So it's a long time a king had no one in his own country.
Mm-hmm.
And so what did you do after that?
Well, I was Halcyon drummer.
So all this time you were Halcyon's drummer.
Yeah.
Long time you were just a superstar boy. Okay, and so you left. Well, after South Stars fell apart,
I just
you just stayed home,
stayed with Halcyon.
right?
Because Halcyon, I was like the drill master in Halcyon. Also the in-house arranger.
You were like less than 18, you know, Babu.
I was also the in-house arranger, the guy who does tunes for you to play out and stuff.
Have you ever had any formal music training
No,
to this day?
no.
So where you get the inspiration? Where you get the No, let me try it again. When you think of a musical piece, you play it out.
Yeah.
And how do you transfer that to the rest of the players? They play it out too, because back then nobody was reading music.
By sections.
Because nobody was using music,
Right.
and you knew
What I
all the
want
parts.
each section to play.
So for you non-reading music, no formal training self, that's why I could have Bagman for 9 years.
God give me a talent.
Clearly.
Who God bless.
Let-
If you let me straighten out this.
yes.
thing. Playing with and being a member of is two different things.
That is true. I agree. That is correct. I apologize.
So I would say I've played with all the bands in this country.
And I will say
All
I'm
the
not
steel
surprised.
bands.
Okay. And how many of them were you a member of?
Superstars, Halcyon, South Stars,
Just 3. You ever arrange or harmonize?
and also West Side.
Oh, you remember? Yes, you remember West Side. I remember that. You ever arrange or harmonize?
For the funeral they did for, I think it was Brother.
You never done proper arrangement for my band? You too late now from hire you?
You can hire me anytime.
It's not my band. I
I
wish.
know.
So, what else do you do besides pan music?
Just try to survive.
I don't like how that sound, because you have been a part of our pan history from since 1973.
No, 71.
Babu, you could try to say you play pan before my born.
Yes.
Okay, so you've been a part of pan life since 1971, and you sit before me and say you struggle to survive?
That's the truth.
Explain. What do you mean by you struggle? You have done these bands that you said. You've been a member of these bands. Superstars, South Stars, Halcyon, and Westside. Yes. You have been arranging for Halcyon since.
Yes.
Since. You have done work with a number of schools.
Schools, yes.
Yes. You have won numerous competitions, both at the senior.
and junior.
Well, I mean, I think you ever beat me the PM. Think about this now. Did the Academy ever beat me when I was at Princess Margaret School? I can't remember.
I can't say.
And you were telling me that, okay, how about playing out? How has playing out been for you?
Well, basically that was the main thing that I used to do, different from going to panyards.
And how was in terms of earning power? Were you earning?
At a point in time, yes, I can say yes.
Okay, good.
But for the last, I can say for the last 10 years, everything kind of.
What does that mean? Everything went downhill. What went downhill? The number of gigs or the pay?
The gigs and the pay.
The pay not supposed to go down. We've moved forward.
No.
Explain that.
Let me explain that. I'm in that field. There are a set of groups that just farm, and they'll go to the hotels, and the hotels will say to them, well, I have this group charge me
$5.
$5 a night. What can you give me? And they will suddenly go $250.
But
The
can you live
hotels-
from that?
The hotels don't care because these guys have a 8 to 4 job.
Oh, so these are the people that
So-
are coming to play after. So they're
Yeah.
they're looking supplemental income, not
Right.
full time. And there was nothing in place for you to protect
No.
those of you who worked full time.
No. And the hotels don't care. They don't
Well, technically, they shouldn't care.
They don't care about quality. What
Oh,
they
that's a
look
different
for
story.
is quantity.
They don't care about quality. What do you mean they don't care about quality?
In
Don't they want
terms of
quality to entertain their guests?
Entertainment. They are looking for people who they can hark and bark at.
As entertainment? Entertainment is subcontracted. Anyways. So as we speak now, today, well, no, before I ask that question, I know you also do the police band.
I work with the police band.
How is that experience? I mean, every time I see you in your uniform, I get a kick.
It's good. It's good. It's something that I've been suggesting for years.
That you have been suggesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the strangest thing about the police band situation. You had Petra, commissioner, because I came with the idea after Right Charge left. It was Petra and then Goodwin and then Pompey and then Martin. You know, the whole line come down.
Okay.
Right all the way down to Delano Christopher. All I was getting from them, yeah, it's a good idea, but nothing
Visionary. Come on. A pan in
then-
police band.
Then the white guys from Canada came. Thomas Bennett. They were having a function down at Multipurpose Center where they were now bringing in the traffic wardens.
Okay.
So they had graduated, so they were having the little function there. And I am the one who
You asked
played
to
the
play.
anthem.
Okay.
And for about a half an hour play.
Mhm.
And Bennett walked up to me when I was finished and he said, "You are Babu Samuel?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I've been hearing this name since in Canada."
Okay.
I said, "Yeah?" So he said, "Why isn't the pan involved in the police band?" I said, I've made that suggestion for years and nobody really take my hand. He said, look, this is a Caribbean country and all them wind instruments are European and American instruments. Why doesn't we have a Caribbean sound in the
Okay,
band?
nice. And that's how you got it?
And that's how I got in.
Cool. And you've been there ever since?
Yes.
I like it when you hear take a white man for make this something work. I don't like that, but we'll take it.
It's life.
Take it,
People
that is
are
good.
people.
So, another question for you. Where Babu come from? How you come by the nickname Babu?
Oh, that was from Superstars.
Okay, tell me about that.
One day a guy brought an African name book by the panyard, and everybody is picking out a
What
name.
they want to be called.
Yeah. And when it reached to me, because I was the kid, so I'm the last one to get the book. Everybody calling all kind of names. And when it reached to me, I start going through. I'm looking for the simplest name.
Okay.
And I start going through. And I run into Babu.
Mm-hmm.
And I say,
What does it mean?
willing.
Winning?
Willing.
Oh, willing. Oh,
Willing.
yeah, and you are willing. That's a good. So it's okay.
I
So you
was
basically
looking
picked.
for something that relates to me, because I was the kid in the band. Everybody sent me to the shop.
Yes, but then
Go
you
do
were
this,
also the trainer.
go- Yeah.
So you were the kid with the skills and the talent that still get advantage. But I get the feeling you never complained, like you said you were
No.
willing. So how was the Pan family at that time? Was it like integrated, family oriented, that kind of stuff?
It was more of a divided situation.
The Pan fraternity was divided?
Yeah.
How so?
We were just coming out of the era of brute force and Hell's Gate and that kind of stuff, which was like more of a warring situation.
Okay.
So, but just around, you can say, between 73, 74, 75 going up, because of the whole Rastafari situation spreading within.
I forget you
the
were
band.
Rastas at the time, yes.
Spreading within the bands, yeah, the weed smoking and stuff. You will find that members of Superstars, Harmonites, Hell's Gate, Rising Sun, all the
But I thought
bands.
you said Harmonites was the elitist band.
No, you still have ordinary people inside there.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said that. So that make people know. Stop calling out elitists. Come on.
So guys will meet and sit and smoke together. And,
And you still lived out Bowlands all this time.
yeah.
So when did you move back to town? Last question, because I know you have to go. I mean, I promise you I wouldn't keep you too long. So, but this has been a very fast. Bobby, you have to come back so we can finish up this. You know that, right? So when you moved back to town,
I moved back to town in about 1976.
okay, and that's when you
I was between both places.
moved back to Southside Alley.
No. We had already moved from.
Oh yes, you were.
South
Sorry, you were
and
in
went
Grace.
to Grace Farm.
You were Grace Farm. How we go again?
Grace Farm,
Farmian. Yeah. Never hear about Grace Farmian in my life. Never ask somebody else about a Grace Farmian story.
What grammarians mean?
I get it. I mean, I've just never heard. I mean, I climbed on Grace Farm so many
Lime,
years.
lime,
You know.
not live.
Of course not. You know me come from Point. Never give that
Right.
up. But I mean, I used to go to Grace Farm on the Saturdays. You know where I used to go on the Saturday time. Grace Farmian. Never
Yeah,
heard that
I'm a
before.
Grace
It sounds
Farmian.
very dignified.
I'm very proud of it.
I'm not complaining. I'm not
Oh.
complaining. Did I complain, sir? No, I did not. All right. So, Babu, we are just about at the time where we want to wrap up. I just want for you to tell me if there was anything about your field, your Pan fraternity, one thing that you would want to make to have improved, what would it be?
The salaries that they pay us at culture department.
Too fast. You said that culture?
For now,
Oh, lovely. Great. Why?
we should be getting salaries where we don't have to necessarily go out and try to do other things to make ends meet.
What do you do at Culture?
Pan instructor.
How many schools?
Well, my district is Green Bay, Hatteras Comprehensive, and St. Joseph Academy.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that is now. At the beginning, it was me that had all the schools.
The schools, yes, that's true.
And I couldn't handle all as one person.
So you think there's a need to revise the salary scale of the entire pan instructing department?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to ask you how bad it is.
No.
It sounds like it's
You
scary.
You know.
Jeez, you can't make the people that know I know.
You know. So you don't have to ask me.
Well, I can't fight for you anymore because they dashed me away. So, but it has been a pleasure, Babu, talking to you. Babu from Southsap Alley. I'm going to ask somebody if they know, somebody else if they know where Southsap Alley.
Just ask the elder.
No, I'm going to ask the young people, Listen, it's in the, you realize we're now starting. When I was coming down, I can't remember the name of the song. Christ the King has already started rehearsals, and I know you're going over to Academy just now. And I was tripping down the road to Christ the King. So it's Independence time. We need to remember our roots as well. Southsap Alley. I'm going to ask my incoming guests. I don't know if they were listening outside where Southsap Alley is before we get to the business. But on that note, Babu, I want to thank you very much. I look forward to us having a chat another time.
Yes.
All right? All right. All right. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we transition over to our new guests, I just want to share with you a clip. If any of you recall, we have Trevor Simon, the Warri Grandmaster, who has been winning internationally since forever. Well, guess what? He has another one on his belt, and I just want to share the ceremony. When the Antigua flag is on display, we are all very proud. So I'm just sharing the snippet with you while we change over our set.
Alemi 3. Dünyalik göçmenler oyunlarında avvari intelektüel taymoşlarında birinci ortadaki üçün altın payı geminin Antigua Cana Barbuda Ulutluk Kuraması Sinema and gold medal goes to the Antigua and Barbuda national team. Let's applaud for the national teams and winners. Rahmat, thank you. Esneri için sürekli düşüyorlar. Alemi 3. Dünyalik göçmenler oyunlarında avvari intelektüel taymoşlarında.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, there you had it. Mr. Trevor Simon and September Christian. I know September very well. I know both of them. There's a humming. I know both of them very well, actually. Oh, it's my phone. Who both represented Antigua, playing Warri for the umpteenth time. And the reason why I play that, ladies and gentlemen, because I need your help. I intend to write to the Guinness Book of World Records, people. Because let me tell you, Mr. Simon, my cousin was the world under 17 champion at least 15 years ago. And Mr. Simon was the world top international champion long before that. So I think he must have the world record somewhere for the longest reigning international champion of any mind games. I want to test it, and I think we should get him into that Guinness Book of World Records. So Antiguans, I play that for a reason, because I'm intending to pursue that path, and I'm sure I'm going to need the support of my fellow citizens. Anyways, So now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, you are listening to We Are the Ones. And We're the Ones is a program every Wednesday on Point FM where we seek to look at varied issues that impact on the lives of Antiguans and Barbudans. We begin by looking at home, and at home I mean that we're in the community of Point and Villa. We look at the wider Antigua and Barbuda community, and then we look at issues that impact us internationally. And this issue that we're about to touch on is one I think that has international repercussions with a domestic reach. I'm going that way. And in studios with me this afternoon, we have Mr. Emil Michael. Mr. Michael, you can just... And we have Miss Alverna Ennis. And I have my buddy, my Facebook buddy, Andy Stevens. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And just if you could each just introduce yourselves, a general background, and then the work that you do as it relates to the whole issue of human trafficking.
We want to start.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
Okay,
out
Ms. Stevens, we'll go around.
my name is Andy Stephen. I currently work at the Antigua Trades and Labor Union. I'm also the coordinator for the domestic workers section within the union, as well as the domestic workers for Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay. And you are a member of the committee, or you just work along with them?
We have partnered. We established a partnership earlier this year with the union and the ministry, so we have been doing some groundwork together. So this is just part of the efforts in support of their
The work that
their work that they're doing.
Okay, all right. Mr.
Yes, I am Emil Michael. I am an education officer in the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, responsible for Zone 4. I represent education and the Trafficking in Persons Prevention Committee, and that committee also chaired the Education Task Force.
Okay.
And good afternoon, everyone. I am Alverna Innes, and I am the Care and Support Services Officer within the Trafficking in Persons Prevention Secretariat.
That's a new post.
It is.
Okay, because
It's a
I
new
know you.
secretariat
I
also.
know you from your past life.
Yes, I am seconded from the Directorate of Gender Affairs as
Okay.
a program officer.
All right. Okay.
Let's switch gears a little.
Miss Innes used to help me look after my boys.
Oh, that's a different scenario. That was in a different organization.
Yes. Okay.
But that's PSI.
All right. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, audience. Today, one of the issues I wanted to tackle on this program, we like to look at the social issues, and there have been so many discussions about this whole issue of, should I begin it by saying trafficking? Should I just call it that? The whole issue of trafficking in persons and the issues, the social and socioeconomic issues that it's impacted, not only in our communities, but on the communities where there's a connection in the issues. And so I felt that it was important for us. And I know you just recently had your awareness week.
Yes.
I found out about it the very last day. So I just wanted for you to help my audience to get a feel for what trafficking is. Where does Antigua fit in terms of the whole issue of trafficking? Why do we feel that we need to go as far as having a whole week of awareness? What are some of the sectors or segments of our community that are impacted by trafficking? I'm throwing out a lot of questions to start because I just expect to sit for a little bit and be educated like the rest of the audience. And the one twist, I don't know if it's a twist, I often wonder, because I know when we hear trafficking, we think you're bringing persons from somewhere else. I think that's something about a definition for trafficking. But do we have instances of domestic human trafficking? I guess I can hold that. I get a funny look. Yes. So let's get the ball rolling. What is trafficking? Or human trafficking, sorry.
It's modern day slavery, to put it short. But if I may give the long definition. Human trafficking is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring of or receipt of persons by means of threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability, or the giving and receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person, having control over another person for the purpose of exploitation. It sounds like a long definition.
So I know you're going to break that down for me a little bit more.
Right. So in short, it's slavery.
Okay.
And we look at it as modern day slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, for a case of human trafficking to be identified, there must be three elements present. And within the definition, you have those three elements. You have the act, that is what is done. And you know, what is done can be recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring. And you also have the means, how it is done, by coercion, by abduction, you know, those things. And for what purpose, why it is done, for the purpose of exploitation. And exploitation could take many forms.
Okay. So, where does the notion that there is human trafficking in Antigua arises?
The notion.
Or it's a reality? Maybe I should remove the word notion. All right. Tell me about the issue of human trafficking in Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay, well, really, I'm in charge of the education task force, so my task basically is to sensitize, to bring about awareness, you know, within country of Antigua and Barbuda, because we personally believe that prevention is better than cure. So if persons are aware of the facts, and you know, that's the whole theme for the week of activities, know the facts.
And the facts are that?
So within the education process, we will educate persons as to what human trafficking entails, right? And so you look at the indicators so that you can identify whether or not there's some sort of suspicion.
So when you say the indicators, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, there are several things that you can note when human trafficking is taking place, right? There are plenty things you can look at. I mean, seeing these signs doesn't mean that it's human trafficking, but it's an indicator that it might be, it's a possibility. So once there's a possibility, investigation will take place. And during the investigation, it will be determined whether or not it's a case of human trafficking. So we have, if I might just say to you, we have 2 task forces within the Trafficking Persons Prevention Committee. And that is the Education Task Force that deals with sensitization, awareness, education, training. And there is the Investigative Task Force who deal with the investigations. So you have persons on this task force who are skilled, have investigative skills to go out and actually do the investigation. And it can be determined whether or not it's a case of human trafficking that needs to be brought before the courts.
So what are the signs?
Well, there are different signs. Okay, for example, within human trafficking, what normally happens is that, let's say the persons are transferred or transported to Antigua from another country. I'm talking about the victims.
Yeah.
The first thing that happens mostly is that their passports are taken. That's one of the indicators.
But how
So-
would someone from the outside know that that is a sign?
All right. So the fact is, that is just one of the signs. Yeah. Now, we have an ad one in an ABS television, and that is, to me, it's a good ad that basically shows you how you can identify somebody who is trafficked. Now, the ad basically, you have the person who's in charge taking the victim to the doctor. Right? Now, the doctor, well, the nurse is asking the questions. And before the victim
can answer. Somebody else chimes
somebody
in.
else chimes in. That is an indicator. You ask for the birth date, and before the victim can answer, somebody chimes in. So all these are indicators that there's something wrong here. And once there's something wrong here, it means that you will have to do some sort of investigation.
So who does the reporting then? On who's?
Okay, good question. Now, these traffickers are very smart people. Very, very smart people. And they have a ring of persons that they work with. Okay? So you'll find, let's say I am a trafficker. I don't want to identify myself as such, but I'm just using for the example.
We get it.
I will have a ring of persons.
Mhm.
So I may have Miss Innes, who is in Trinidad, and I may have Miss Stevens, maybe in Jamaica,
Mhm.
right? I'm here in Antigua.
It's a network.
Yeah, it's a whole network. So I would say to Miss Innes, Miss Innes, I need to get some nice girls, pretty girls, you know, because I am in the business, show business. I'm calling it show business, right? So I want to recruit some nice girls from, where did I say Trinidad?
Mhm.
From Trinidad, right? And I will send her the tickets. I will say, look, I will pay for the tickets.
Mhm.
Pay front
In
for
the
that.
first instance, I need 5. I just need 5 for now.
Mhm.
And I'm going to pay it up front, so I'm sending the tickets. Now in Trinidad, she would have to do the recruiting,
Mhm.
which is all part of the act,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she will recruit those persons, and she will tell them what they need to know to get them to
Entice them into.
right, that's the word,
Entice
entice
them
them.
into.
Actually, because these persons are vulnerable too, right? Many of them may not be working, and when you tell them, look, you're going to go to Antigua, and you're going to work in a nice hotel, and you're going to earn 4,000 US.
Work in a nice hotel as what? In what capacity?
That's deceiving.
That's
That
where
is
the
part of it,
deception
the
comes in.
deception.
Right. So I
And
want to
you-
know.
okay,
So
they
what would
may-
you tell them? So do they know? Like,
They may be.
Like for instance, okay, I can chime in here. I was just watching a situation on a documentary about 2 days ago, and basically what happened is that this lady contacted someone that she knew in a country, and she called the person. She said, "Well, I need 2 girls." Unfortunately, only one came.
Mhm.
So the one that came, she got her there by any means necessary. Told her, well, you're coming to work in a hotel.
Mhm.
You're going to get this X amount to pay. You're going to be given these other benefits. And the young lady said, okay, fine, I'll come. When she got there, that's not what it was. But then what happened is that they had her in a situation where she was comfortable, and they even paid her more money to say, listen,
Bring
we would
somebody
bring
else.
somebody else. So then what happened is that that person who is comfortable with the individual who's already here now forms part. Not only has she been trafficked to come in here, she's now part of the act because she's now trying to get somebody else to come under the same circumstances. And that happens to be a very common thing too. It's a familiar person that they know. They use that person to say, listen, you have any other friends? So that in that video, that what basically was happening in Antigua. Well, I'm sure we know because there was a situation on in the news about a human trafficking situation, and those things do happen, but they tell them everything that they need to hear. Like as for lack of a better description, they sweet them up, and they come, free ticket, free accommodation, free everything. You're getting money. All I have to do is show up at the airport. Hello. And they get them to that point where they feel comfortable.
But if I can chime in here, while you're saying that's an idea, that's a situation,
Yeah.
and kudos to that individual, and that is a rare situation. Okay, again, it's a video. But in the Antigua, or let us say the Caribbean context, is that when they are told that they are coming or they are going to whatever country it is of destination, and they would be told, yes, that they are going to receive benefits, and they are going to be paid, that they do not have to pay for their tickets and their accommodations, whatever. When they get on the ground, it's totally different. They have to pay. And that is where the whole issue.
Hold on. So let me see if I get this right. I am living in country X. I am a single mother.
Not necessarily single.
Barely, okay, I'm a
Yes,
mother.
it's
Your mother.
Yes.
Just a mother.
Barely making ends meet. And my best assets are my physical attributes. And Sometimes I don't even look so, but yeah. And you convince me that I can make a better life for myself, for my child, and my extended family who's going to look after the child if I come to country. Why? You're going to buy me a ticket, you're going to give me all these things. I have no skill. Okay, so what am I coming to do in this country where I have no skill?
Okay.
That I am going to make sufficient money not only to live but to go back home. Help me understand that.
Bartending,
Waiter.
waitress. Those are the catch. Okay, bartenders and waitress.
Okay.
And when you arrive,
Hold on, bear with me.
You've been
Bear
trained-
with
you've
me.
been-
Bear
you've been trained, that's fine.
bear with
Right.
me. Bear
yes,
with
we
me.
are bearing with you.
Bartenders and waitresses in country X don't make all that.
But
Which is where
again,
I'm saying where I live. I'm still the individual. I am in country X. I'm not calling any country. And I know that bartenders and waitresses in my country are not necessarily getting this
coming to
sum.
Antigua.
So now I'm going to be told I'm coming to another Caribbean country where all of a sudden the amount of money that I'm going to be making there will far exceed what is paid for similar positions in my country of birth.
And that
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
But the other thing is the way it is pitched. So I'm going to
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
so-
out the pitch
so
if it's
I'm
a
going to- I'm
bartending
going
or
to say to you,
waitressing.
look, this is a high class restaurant.
and you
Right?
show pictures
Yeah, you're
of
showing
the-
pictures, you're cut-
and you
trying
pump
to
it up with the
convince
celebrities that you're going to meet and the other opportunities that you are going to benefit from after you would have arrived into that country. And remember, these persons are first-time travelers also.
Yes, understood
All
that.
right.
Okay. All right. Okay. all
And
right.
very vulnerable.
I was about to say
And very vulnerable.
Now, I noticed that we were stressing on the females. But I just want to ask before we even go any further into other segment, anything else. Are men in the Caribbean trafficked as well?
Yes.
Yes.
In what sectors?
Forced labor, agriculture.
Construction and agriculture.
Construction.
Construction too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Agriculture.
Yeah.
Mining.
Mining.
I mean, we don't.
Okay, we don't have it here, but yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we mine stones and something.
But I think
But those fields,
what
and
we
even
Go ahead.
the
Prostitution.
the dancing field. What
Right,
called
it's-
striptease,
exotic dancing.
I mean,
Really?
Yes.
They do that?
Yes.
well, you don't know that, Petra.
No, I mean no. In terms of the force, I thought they were voluntarily. Anyways, yeah.
No.
So,
Make your point. Voluntary in terms of make your point, Petra.
I thought that when they come to Antigua to striptease and so on,
Okay.
males, that they are doing it knowingly. And
Males or just persons?
persons.
Persons in general.
Persons.
Okay.
Okay. Persons in general. If you're coming to do striptease, we're not talking about the extreme.
These are the shows that they put on.
Right.
No,
The
that's
shows
a
is
different
to-
thing.
that's different
That's
altogether.
different.
Okay,
That's different
so
altogether.
then we're saying that apart from doing shows, that there are persons who could be told that you're coming to. They're not told you're coming to do
That's-
exotic dancing.
No.
No, you're coming to get a job.
They are coming here to work.
To work.
Work. They are coming here to work
In the entertainment.
in the entertainment field, or you're coming to work in the entertainment field in terms of a bartender, okay, or you're coming as a waitress. But when you arrived here, it's totally different. You are now forced to dance. Some of them may have dancing experience as dancers
From home.
from home,
Right.
but just as dancers. But here now, they are placed in a position where they have to do the strip dancing, which they may not have been accustomed to from the country of origin. And before we go,
Even further, not only strip, but they may have to offer a service.
Service,
Well,
additional services.
I'm coming to that. And if before we go forward, I think what we need to do also is to identify the various types of trafficking. You have
Yes, please.
trafficking
Thank you.
for the purpose of sexual exploitation,
Mm-hmm.
trafficking for the purpose of domestic servitude, and which gives rise
Mm-hmm.
for Andy being here with us, because under our team this year, what we did, we tried to focus on the whole issue of forced labor or domestic servitude
In
as a
Antigua.
form of human trafficking.
In Antigua?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Continue.
And you traffic. I made mention of domestic servitude.
Yeah,
Organ
you made
harvesting.
And organ harvesting. We are not sure if we have such.
organ
Yeah,
harvesting.
we are not sure if we have such.
I need a kidney.
Somebody
Um,
might contact
but-
you. Let's put it over the ear. And give us the
I don't want it. I don't want it under trafficking challenges. But I need a kidney.
And when we looked at the whole issue of for example, the whole issue of domestic servitude, that is what we always say is very difficult for us to penetrate, because those persons are within the household, and so you are not able to make contact with most of them, and this gives rise to our public education. So when we educate persons, they can be able now to help us to identify those individuals who may find themselves
When
in
you
certain
educate which
situations.
persons?
The general public.
So you're hoping that through the education process that the public would now become the persons
More
who
and more,
observe
yes.
and aware, and then they would report it to where?
And they will report it to, we partner with the Directorate of Gender Affairs, and using the hotline, which is 463-5555. You can also call 911. Of course, they're going to ask you what's the emergency. You would let them know, and then they would connect you to the Directorate of Gender
And they're
Affairs.
going to ask you your name.
No. They are trained.
Where
No.
you're going, how long
no.
you've been there.
No.
And then another
For
one, I
this,
want to ask you a
they are trained. The 911 operators, they are trained, to respond sensitively to such issues. So all they're going to do is do the connection, and then from the hotline, the Directorate of Gender Affairs hotline, they make contact with the education task, so the Trafficking Persons Committee, and also task force involved, which is
That sounds very layered, like bureaucratic.
it is not.
No.
I'm just saying it
it's not.
sounds.
No. So why you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The thing is, it's an easy process.
It's sounding as though it is long, but it is not.
Yeah.
It's just a telephone call, and it's a link.
And
Okay.
so suppose I'm a third party wanting to make a report. Do I have to give my name?
No names, none
As a
whatsoever.
matter of fact, they have
None whatsoever.
the Crime Stoppers hotline, which can be used.
All of that you can use. There are various entry points, as we normally say, and that is why we intensify our efforts in terms of our public education. So we are into churches, we are into community groups, we are into schools, and those and other service organizations.
You did Circle K last year.
Excuse?
Was it you that did Circle K last year? Okay,
my,
never mind.
one of my
It's just strong
colleagues.
in my memory.
Yes. We made contact with you for Circle K.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
that's it.
yes,
So
yes.
that's a typical example. And as Mr. Michael said earlier, also there are times when persons may see something. It may not be trafficking, but they report and we investigate. And
So once a report is made, it is investigated.
it is
Once there's a sign,
investigated.
once there's
One
a
there is a
sign.
sign, and it may not be trafficking, but whatever social issue may arrive out of that investigation, we refer it to the relevant service organization, the Directorate of Gender Affairs, Family and Social Services, or the Ministry of, for example, Labor, whatever it is, we do the referral.
I have two questions. The first one, you said sexual exploitation, domestic servitude, organ harvesting. But when we were talking earlier, we had spoken about like the
Yeah, forced
agriculture
The forced
workers,
labor
the
and
forced
right,
forced
forced
labor.
that's
That is
forced
forced
labor.
labor. All right, okay. That's one question. And the other question is, you mentioned about the fact that persons come in, they are locked away. For example, like the domestic workers, so they don't have free movement. What role does the immigration data play in something like this, or there's no role?
No, you see, as I said, there's a ring of persons involved in this. No, you know, and I know, in everything you have good persons and you have bad persons. So I've been a teacher all my life, and you have good teachers, and you have bad teachers.
I have not so good ones. Jesus, I'm scared if you say they're bad ones.
They're bad ones. I'm telling you, I'm in the field.
Oh dear.
Similarly, in the police force, you have same thing, good and bad. In immigration officers, you have good and bad. Because people will do things with money,
Right.
and we have to accept that,
Understood.
right? So I am in this business, and I have my friends.
But don't you
Miss-
have to present?
I need to interject here.
Yes,
When I'm going to say when the individuals arrive at the airport, human trafficking don't present themselves in their face. Immigration officers, they have a right to do their job.
No, I understand
Hold
that.
on, let me finish, please. You have to land the person, and you're given X amount of time. Okay, as long as you satisfy the criteria in terms of where you're going, I am not sure if they ask about your spending power, but as long as you satisfy the criteria at the port of entry, they are going to land you. But then after the individual land, immigration don't have any control over that anymore.
Okay, all right.
More than I understand, when persons may say the duration you need to, okay, this person should leave at X time.
Mm-hmm.
But so many individuals are coming in here. Immigration, I don't think they have the resources to check to see if Madam X and Madam Y return for an extension, or if they already left, or whatever the case may be. There are times indeed that I can attest to, they may realize, well, you know what, X came here, and maybe going through the records, and they may go to areas and pick persons up because they did not come to renew their time. But they cannot again do that, because remember, we all signed on to treaties. They know the treaties in which we signed on to. And as long as the person is here legally, they are not aware of they are not supposed to work between X and Y time. But as long as the person or persons are here illegally, you cannot ask them to leave just like that.
But you don't have indefinite time to be here.
No, you don't have indefinite time, no.
But you and I know.
No, I'm just asking questions,
Yes, I know,
really.
but you and I know, as I'm saying here. No, I could be
Could
the
you
person.
pull
I could be the person.
you can push the mic
Okay.
out to you, because they're saying they can't. The audience is saying they can't hear you. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I could be the individual who
Better.
invite those persons here. So
Okay.
I take on the responsibility because I have
The connections.
I have the connection where I could take the passport and get it.
All of that too, yeah.
You understand?
Fair enough.
It's an easy process.
Yes.
It's not as difficult as you may see it at the moment, because there are always some way that you can circumvent whatever the situation
There's
is.
always a loophole.
Andy, question for you. You are with the domestic workers. Before we get to the have we ever actually successfully prosecuted anybody, because that question is coming. Based on your interaction with that segment of our community, do you have reasons to think that human trafficking is part of that system? I was trying to choose my words carefully.
Yes. However, we have not had any cases that have come to us in terms of persons reporting human trafficking situations from the domestic part of it. And it takes the same form. I need a cleaner. I need somebody to stay with my child. I need somebody to take care of my mother, father, or my elderly person.
So why you have to exploit the people?
They come. And for us, this is why we decided to do the domestic workers section, because we realize, as I always say, that the domestic workers fall at the bottom of the tier. You have prostitutes, you have domestic workers, you have garbage collectors. Those persons are at the bottom of the tier. And they're the persons who are more vulnerable and more exploited, because guess what? Those are services that you can pay little or anything for and still get the service because you need the service. Persons need a job. From my experience, we have had situations where persons would come in and you would hear, well, they're not paying me minimum wage, they're paying me below minimum wage, but because they're feeding me, or they're giving me somewhere to sleep, or they giving me bus fare or whatever, they're not paying me the correct money. And that too falls within, it may not fall under human trafficking, but it alerts you that this person is being exposed to some level of, for lack of
Economic
word,
exploitation.
slavery.
Slavery.
Okay, slavery.
Slavery. Because if you can bone me by telling me, you need to do this, but in order to do this, you need to give me this, this, and this, and you're not giving me a choice, then that's just one aspect of it. Then you have the other aspect where documents have been held. I have had a situation or heard a story that a young lady came a few years ago. She was with a Syrian family, and they held on to her passport. But she was one of the radical ones that was able to tell them, I need it. And after a while, when they left, she broke into wherever they had it. She took it and she never passed back. But I mean,
But why would you want to keep a domestic worker against their wish?
It's a form of power and control.
Exactly.
You just hire another one.
It's not
Again,
that,
form of power and control.
but it's not that easy to just
It's
say
not-
hire another one. I mean, you have persons who live in Antigua who are from different countries, who are employers, who come with a different environment. When they come to Antigua, they still practice it here. And I find, and I have said this in my office, and I would say it now that everybody can hear, that I think that we need to set up a system that persons who come from a different country and wish to open a business in Antigua need to be au fait with the labor laws in Antigua. You can't come from a foreign country and say, I need to open a bar. And you go to intellectual properties, you register your name, you have your business plan, you do everything that they ask you to do, and you open up, you hire people, and yet still you're not au fait with the law. Because 90% of the times persons come to us, they have been terminated, they have been suspended, or they're not being treated fairly, and those things are covered in the labor laws.
And the issue of trafficking is also in labor. Well,
And
I guess it won't be
there's a law of
specifically.
itself.
There's a law by itself,
Yeah,
the
the
Human
Human
Trafficking
Trafficking
Act.
Act of 2010, and it was also revised in 2015. And we are in the process also in terms of further revising it to keep up with the international and also local trends. Before you go further, I need to flag something that Andy said earlier. She made mention of the word prostitutes, and we need to let persons understand that they are persons who are trafficked for the purpose of prostitution, meaning that those individuals, they have no control at all over whatever activity the exploiter or exploiters would tell them to do. It's different from persons who are prostitutes, and we know under our law that for you to identify someone as a prostitute, you have to catch him in the act. So trafficking for the purpose of prostitution
It's very difficult.
is different from prostitution. Persons who know exactly what they're doing. Those who know what they're doing, they call the shots. If it's $400, $1,000, $3,000, whatever it is, they call the shots. Whereby those who are trafficked for the purpose of prostitution, they have no control. They don't even see the money that the individual would have to pay to the exploiter just to have uses for them to provide services, sexual services to individuals, to those individuals.
Based on what you're saying then, doesn't the fact that prostitution is illegal
It's illegal, yeah.
makes it very difficult to be able to decipher what is going on? Because if I came to Antigua voluntarily as a prostitute and you break in on where I am working, I am going to be trafficked. Hello? Because I know if I claim that I might be able to get away.
But then you
But-
have to prove the
but then
trafficking
the-
too.
Is whose word against whose word?
Yeah, but then if you come into a situation where you're saying, oh, I was trafficked here, and the person say, as Mr. Michael was saying, an investigation will be
You
done.
have to investigate,
So you
yes.
have your passport.
Yes.
Did you come here
So
and your
they're-
free will? Who paid for your ticket to come here? Those questions will be asked.
Hold on, no, hold on. So let me see if I get this right. I know you mentioned the three, the acts, the means,
you
and the
must have
purpose.
three elements.
I wrote them down. So this is my situation. I am in Jamaica. I'm now going to call a country. And I know that there are opportunities in Antigua. I don't mind engaging in the prostitution business. I do not mind. I don't have a problem with it. I do not have the resources to get to Antigua. I get a connection who makes the connection for me, and person X is in Antigua is willing to buy my tickets, put me up, blah, 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 and I come and I will work it off.
That's voluntary.
No, hold on. So I leave the country X, well, I said Jamaica, but you know what I mean, leave the country X voluntarily, and I come here. I know this is what I am going to come to do. When I reach here now, the person I come to change the condition. So in other words, if when I left country X, I knew that I would have to repay $5,000, when I get here, they change it and say, okay, you have to repay $7,500. Is that just a breach of contract, or we now tip over into trafficking?
No.
You see,
It's-
again,
Deception.
you have
go
to be
ahead.
investigated because, as Ms. Stevens just said, the person is being deceived.
Yes, but I know what I came for.
But
Yes, you can know what you're coming
But-
from, and you still can be trafficked.
You see, the
But
reason why I
for-
asked that question,
Go ahead, go
Mr.
ahead,
Lamy,
go
is that
ahead.
sometimes I wonder if there's not a very thin line.
it is
It
a thin
is.
line. It is a
It
thin
is.
line. But remember, for an adult, you need the three elements. You must be recruited. You were not. You agreed to come. That yourself and that individual.
Right.
You had an arrangement. The individual changed their mind. So you cannot come down and cry foul, say you're being trafficked.
Yes, but
you,
but
you know for a
because
fact that you are coming here to provide such a service. In order for you to prove now that you,
but they hold on to my they have now held on to my documents until I pay them off.
well, you have
Yeah.
done. You are now saying that they hold on to your document before you.
No,
But
hear
that
me.
still would
They
not
only
But
constitute
it's
human trafficking, because even in situations on day-to-day basis, you have persons who owe people and they take away something for
So
them
if-
until they give them as that is not trafficking.
but
It-
can is there scope for
Investigation.
yes?
Yes.
Investigation, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But for trafficking, no, it is not.
So if I voluntarily
You know, you
I'm aware of why I am coming.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get on the ground, the terms and conditions under which I was being invited to come have changed.
You know, you weren't
I end up being
invited.
abused.
you were not. You remember? You were not
No.
invited. You remember? You said that you know exactly what is it you're
Yeah,
coming here
no,
for.
This is,
It could
okay,
be-
hold on. Okay, Peter, this is like an employment contract. You go for a job interview, they tell you, okay, this is what you're going to do when you start to work. But when after the meeting, when you get the document to sign, this is where we didn't discuss this. That's not trafficking.
I understand
I know,
that. But here is the
we have
challenge.
to look at it that way now.
The challenge is that now that you're underground, you're being treated as similar to the persons who were trafficked in terms of you have restricted movement. You might even have instances of being abused. You don't get to control your own money. Where does a person like that fit
The
in this?
investigation will
First
have
of
to
all,
look
for,
at.
for a case of human trafficking to be constituted, there must be at least one element,
Oh, one.
at least one from the three
Okay.
The
categories.
three
Fair enough.
categories. So it's
Present.
kind of with a three. Yes.
Present.
Present,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
when the investigation is being done, if one category is not present, it's not human trafficking.
Right.
There must
have
be
the
at
element.
least one element
From
from
the
each one
three.
of the categories.
Okay, fine. So that puts my question out of the
Good.
okay. So now, Miss
And-
Alice, sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
You were going to say something.
And while we are saying the one element from the three categories for adults, for the children, you only need two. You
Do we have
refute-
instances of children being trafficked in Antigua?
You have
Yes.
investigated.
Investigated way back before we actually was made aware that the case was indeed human trafficking. They were fooled into leaving their home country to come here for a better life in terms of going to school, and that the child was placed in the home as a domestic, as a servant within the home.
So they were the parents.
And the parent was back in the country. They were here with one individual. The person brought the individual here. But it happens that a scenario was played out. The individual managed to escape, and the
God.
case went to court.
Mm-hmm.
The individual was charged with a certain crime
Offense.
offense, and the years after, in conversation with the same IOM International Office for Migration, discussing the very matter, then we realized that that matter was a trafficking matter. We did not know, and that was way before 2000 and 2007, thereabout. It was way before that.
The act
So
was
we
passed
had
and
yeah,
so
the
on.
act, and because of that particular case, it gave rise for Antigua to actually set up the Human Trafficking Act and get the IOM to come into the country and assist us in setting up the act, and we have the committee and the task forces and so on. So that's one case we know definitely for children.
Have we had cases that we have clearly identified where there were instances of human trafficking in Antigua? We know there's a lot of
Yes, we have.
let's put it this way. There's a lot of speculation in Antigua that human trafficking is very prevalent. Thank you.
The fact is, because people look at human trafficking, some look at it, I mean, prostitution, they say it's human trafficking. Not necessarily. They
always.
might have striptease, but they say
Unnecessary.
it's human trafficking. But the fact
But
of the
could
matter-
it? But in the instances, striptease could be human trafficking if the
can be,
person
yes, it
was
can
not
be.
aware.
Yes,
And
yes.
then we cannot say that we have human trafficking. The court will have to decide. You see, it's a technical thing. As investigators, they will be able to do the investigation, and they would have found elements, maybe one element from the three categories. The matter is taken before the court, and the court might decide it's not
That the
human
evidence is not
trafficking.
strong enough.
It's not human trafficking. So you will find now, and because we have not had any convictions up to this present day, we don't have any.
We haven't had any
successful-
convictions.
Successful conviction. Technically, we can say that we don't have human trafficking, but that doesn't mean that that's the
not
case.
happening.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so we are saying that there is need to educate the citizens of Antigua and Barbuda because there may be instances when we have human trafficking. Despite that, over the years, especially since the legislation has been passed in 2010,
Yes.
right?
And revised
So
in
for the past
2015.
8 years, despite this increased sensitization, the legislation being in place, all of these administrative structures being made part of the process, that to date, we still have yet to demonstrate tangibly that human trafficking is an issue.
We are satisfied that
It is an
human
issue.
trafficking is an issue.
It is an issue.
We are satisfied
And
that they.
Okay, so if we are satisfied that there is an issue and we're doing the education, what else can we do?
Well, the most we can do is to educate, continue
Continue.
to educate, and we educate. The fact is, we have not touched every person in Antigua and Barbuda with regards to our education process.
Okay.
And we're
Which
still
is-
in the process of educating, and we'll continue to
Right.
educate, sensitizing
Continuous.
about awareness. We've been doing that for the past.
But wouldn't a good
Yes.
wouldn't it be to your benefit as the unit if you would have been able to demonstrate, see, people have been reporting, and look, you see, because to my mind, if we keep reporting, because there will be many people, like I said, who are convinced, adamantly convinced. I had a discussion today with one vehemently convinced, good afternoon, Mary, who is convinced that human trafficking is a serious issue. And despite repeated reports, repeated whatever, we still have not been able to demonstrate either to the persons who are being trafficked. So, for example, if I am trafficked and I am looking for, okay, if I report, I know there's something will come out of it. Because to my mind, if reports are made, investigations are done, and nothing comes out of it, then it doesn't give me any comfort to want to speak out, because I could end up worse off.
Petra, I understand what you're saying, but if I can interject here, let us go back to before 2015, where we had a case of maybe 19 young ladies or so, and that case went to court, and the case of itself was thrown out, and that case was thrown out because of the law of itself, in terms of making it simple. It's a constitution issue. Making it simple, the magistrate, there was too much powers given to the magistrate's court, so that one was thrown out. So that is out. Then the law was further revised, okay, in 2015, and indeed there was a case in court, which we all know by now has been thrown out, but we're leaving it as is for the moment. But the fact of the matter is, these things happen. Even the United States of America, that is policing us, if we look at the issues as it relates to, I am not trying to do a comparison.
No, I'm
as
saying,
it relates to as relates to the whole issue of in terms of prosecuting persons for human trafficking. We know the United States is one of the bigger, the human trafficking is more prevalent in that country, and yet still in terms of prosecution, okay, it is not that big, simply because it's a technical matter, and while persons may have their own ideas as to what is trafficking, okay, we still have to continue our education until most of individuals get it right. Everyone is not going to get it right, because everyone tell themselves that they know exactly what it is. Again, I am going to make mention of we're going to, because the one that we always see up in our face, as I would say, the whole issue of the clubs, the bars or so, those persons who are dancing, or those persons who it may perceive they are involved in sexual activities. They are trafficking for the purpose of prostitution. Okay,
But we have not
And-
been able to
okay,
do
I am-
anything tangibly
and-
about it.
I
Let me
disagree.
finish. Right, and they are
Okay.
indeed,
I disagree
and
too.
they are persons who are aware that they are prostituted. They who are aware of what they're doing in terms of prostitution.
Permit
Those-
me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Those persons, in terms of the issue of trafficking for the purpose of prostitution, and that is exactly where the whole issue of that bondage also comes in. Because if you bring someone here, you tell them that, listen, hey, you're going to be fed, you're going to go places, you're going to have your own room, you don't have to pay for anything, and you now, when you arrive here, the table turn in that you have to pay for all these services. That is where the whole issue of prostitution, you as an individual who have brought the person or persons here, you actually force those individuals now, not all of them, into a position where now they're going to have sex in terms of getting money as a means of survival.
Okay, let me put a scenario before you. So person X came 5 years ago, trafficking. They were trafficked here, and despite the work of the human trafficking committee team, that person still remains in that position. They're still working off their debts or whatever and so on. Okay, so that's person one. Person two comes in after person one and is rebelling. They realize that they've been deceived and blah 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 blah. And person one says to them, listen, you can rebel all you want now, but nobody did help are we, because nothing has ever happened. We go on now. We've had all this awareness happening, and they see everything happening on the radio. They hear it in TV. They hear it all over on the media and so on. And then they decide, okay, I am going to be the one that speaks out and go to seek assistance because I want to break out of this. So however they do it, it comes to the attention of the trafficking team, and the issue of prosecution, well, the person who's holding them is arrested, right? You've done your investigation and you can prove that it is a matter of trafficking. What happens to the victim?
The victim, all issues of human trafficking is victim-centered. Whatever it is, because no one would ever consent to be trafficked. You consent coming to a country for the want of a better life. So whatever the individual or individuals were involved in, that is not going to be held against them. Everyone, whenever...
No, I understand that. I'm saying until the case is... so you have arrested someone, the person who... the human trafficker. Right. So what happens to the victim? What does the system do with the victim?
I'm coming to that. Every one of the young ladies, when they would, let's say, come forward, they want to return home. And as I said...
But if they leave, how does that impact on the case?
Again, investigation is done. And so you'll get your statements and those sort of things. And we work with the organizations in whatever country that individual or those individuals may come from. And we take it from there. And when they return to the various countries, they are not returning in a situation where they do not know exactly what it is they're going to do. There is a strong program with one of our collaborating partners, the International Office for Migration, which persons we call the reintegrated program, whereby persons, if you want to go back to school, they would help you. If you want to seek employment, you want to open a little business, they would help you in terms of financing you.
Understood that. But what happens to the case?
The case will go on.
Aren't they needed as witnesses for the case?
Yes.
Again, yes, but at the time when the case comes up, all right, the persons who are conducting the investigation, and so they will take care of such.
So then the person would come back.
There's a close connection
with the countries.
between the countries.
The countries.
Okay, so the person should come back.
It's either to come back or it could be done via
teleconferencing or whatever. Okay, fine. So you have, so now here's where my scenario continues. So there are three persons in this human trafficking situation. The third person is the one who busts it open, for want of a better word, and phrase, and so the matter is thing. What happens if when you do that, let's say person one, remember you said earlier that you have to catch persons in the act of the sexual act to charge them for prostitution. And I think that is very important because I don't think a lot of people realize that. They just think once they're there, okay. So when you got there, you did not catch them in the act. Person one in particular has decided, listen, I have been here for so long, I am now able to make a little thing and send them something from a family. I am going to stay. Their documents are all up to date. So all my documents are up to date, and when you ask me any questions, I'm good. I came originally under the human trafficking, but I have since adjusted to life in Antigua, blah, blah, blah. And so I do not make an issue of being trafficked. Bear with me for a second. So the one that would have complained, you send them back home. You've done all the statements and everything. Right. No, that's me. They agreed to return. My apologies. They've agreed to return home. So the other two are still working at the place where the trafficking was found. And I say that because I can't recall, for example, in the instances that I've heard of persons being arrested, that the operations for those individuals were discontinued for any length of time. It would have been discontinued for a few days, and then while you're waiting for the case, they're open. So if you find human trafficking in this building, in this 4x8 space, for the duration of the time that there is a holding until the case is called, can I continue to operate my other services?
That case, Mr. Michael, you want to handle that? But
No, I'm
that
not talking
ca-
about a
that-
specific case. I'm giving
but
this
that-
example.
That scenario, I would safely say that is left now for the health inspectors and the other agencies.
No,
who's
and nothing is wrong.
responsible.
Nothing is wrong with the place. The place is fine. The only thing that happened is that you have an incident of human trafficking. I am the owner. You have charged me. I have made bail. I am back on the road, and I am going to reopen my business. Is there anything that prohibits me from reopening my business?
Listen. Before you open a business, you must apply
For
for a license.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
So if you apply for a license,
I'm a bar. I'm a legal tender bar.
The persons who are in charge of that area, it's out of our hands, you know,
Yes, that's the court.
as the committee and so on.
yes.
So in other
Because-
words,
So, where do I go to license?
The other
If I
agencies.
license to be a bar and I'm doing something else and you're found out, there has to be a law that deals with that.
but what I'm asking you now, you're telling me that there has to be a law. So I'm presenting the real time situation to you, to you guys, and I'm asking if the human trafficking incident occurred in this space. I host radio programs, and after radio programs, I host little parties. So if you want to stay over after the parties, I have my girls. You can do whatever, and right. One of the girls who I would have brought here against their will spoke to one of you because they didn't. You happened to slip in, and I was not aware that you're really undercover something else. So I'm shut down while the investigation happens for a little bit. I'm arrested. Post investigations, I'm charged for human trafficking in this space because the person lived right next door in this building, right? Am I allowed, once I make bail, to continue to work?
Continue to do what?
Continue to right
To
Continue
operate
do
my
what?
bar.
Your
You
bar.
operate at your bar, but
Your bar.
obviously,
Yes, but at my
obviously-
bar,
in the
obviously,
I have two other
But-
girls left that did not, that for
No,
whom I
no,
were not
no.
fined.
but
No.
So
No.
that part of the business should not continue.
If I'm understanding what you're saying is that you have been convicted of
Just
a
ask the lady
crime.
outside.
but you're not. supposed
No, I
to be-
haven't been convicted.
But you're charged.
But you're
You were
charged.
Yes.
Therefore, the
But
law.
if the laws would give you the stipulation,
shouldn't
you
have
are
said
not
you're
to
not.
go on that location or whatever it is.
Right.
But that's where I live.
No, you don't
But
live
you want to find
there.
somewhere else to live.
Okay.
You don't live at the bar.
So
Right.
here is my question now. So has it been a case in Antigua where, because we know persons have been charged, yes, with human trafficking?
Yeah.
Good. And they had businesses that did a variety of things, including the thing that they were charged for with the human trafficking matter. Were these institutions closed until the case, or because they've had multiple functions, they were allowed to continue to operate?
They were allowed to continue, as you said, because of multiple functions. And as we said earlier, in terms of the aspect of human trafficking.
Yeah, but who polices it once I
Alright?
open?
And if I can go further, as I made mention earlier, there are other agencies. You said the
Right.
bar was fine, but there are other agencies who have to do what they have to do. We have done our part in terms of the young ladies who are in the in the found on the premises and say that they and identify themselves after we would have spoken to them as victims of trafficking, human trafficking, right? Those persons are out. If all the individuals are on the location,
So I can continue. So if 2 of my girls were exotic dancers and they are willing and clearly able to continue to work, I can reopen and they can continue to dance while the case is going on.
I cannot say you are allowed to, or you can, if you can open up. I don't know what is your bail conditions. So you need to
My
find
bail
that
conditions is just that I need to report to wherever had in my passport.
I don't think
But-
it's that simple when
it's
you're
not-
being charged for human trafficking, because the first of all, the act speaks to a lot of
So a
things,
lot of-
and then you also have to remember that it's just not the human trafficking department who
alone.
deals with it. It is a bunch of persons,
multiple
and there is a
agencies.
chain. So once the report comes to human trafficking, it's escalated. An investigation is
And
done.
those
The police
agencies-
gets involved. So everybody's kept in a loophole. The only thing is that the chance you're running of this system not working is that person's not fulfilling their aspect of it.
So that brings
So
me to my next question.
That's why I've been wanting to answer you for the
Right.
longest while, because for instance, the human trafficking department, the police, you have gender, you have the union, you have labor, you have immigration,
all are supposed to work in sync.
in sync. And
health,
I
fire, and all
think
those
it
things.
was a few months ago, I had an opportunity to speak with the Honorable Samantha Marshall, and I said to her, this was the union's plan in terms of how do we document domestic workers who come in, because first of all, when they come through immigration, the next step is to get a work permit. So even Ms. Innes, we've had this conversation before that. Our plan moving forward is to have all the parties involved. From the first time you come on the island, you are already documented into a database. Then you're alerted that, okay,
I mean,
the
from the
labor
first time
department-
you come and you declare that you're coming as a domestic worker.
Right.
Yeah.
But what happens if you come on vacation? Because a lot of people come on vacation.
But that's the
But
other
then-
thing.
and
The
then
immigration has
And then you
convert.
convert it.
right, but the
yeah.
thing is, the immigration has to play its part too. Because if I'm coming on vacation and then you say, well, I have 3 months out of the country, to stay in the country, then the immigration needs to alert the labor department. This person should be red flagged because they said they're going to be here on vacation for 3 months. So the labor department now knows if this person comes for a work permit,
Then you need
the
to
app-
make close the loop.
Right. The application process becomes different because you came on vacation, now you're seeking employment. Then that process takes, and as Ms. Innes said earlier, if you have fulfilled that criteria, then the next step, and then
Okay.
all those things don't go well.
I'm watching the time, so I have
Alright.
to. So I'm going to interrupt for a minute. I am putting it to you guys, the panel, and I want to thank you for coming. Right. So this is not a negative thing. I'm just putting it to you in terms of the system. That I think that perhaps the biggest challenge that we face with the human trafficking in Antigua is that the system is not fully integrated to work the way
Right.
it's on
Designed.
theory. And I think that breakdown is what, one, is probably making it difficult to identify more victims. Two, making it difficult to follow through to you persecute to what you call it after you don't persecute, to finding persons guilty, and to effectively perhaps making an adjustment in the process. I'm saying that based on the conversation that we just had in terms of, because I would ask, okay, because you're suggesting that yes, the person can reopen if they're doing like the bar. So you say, okay, the bar side can open. So you know what normally happens? Because I've seen it. There's a raid, the place is closed for a few days. Somebody gets charged. For a few days, the place is quiet. And within a couple of weeks, everything just escalates back to normal.
And that
happens regularly.
Yeah, but that is why I said the other agencies are involved. The other agencies have to do their part. And as Andy said also.
Right. So then who
right.
is responsible for holding the agencies accountable?
Again, the point of which you have made in terms of the agencies and persons are not... in terms of not doing their part, so to speak, who in terms of the mechanism is not flowing.
Right. So
It's not flowing. Right.
So I think one of the things that we could probably agree on, we might like it reluctantly, is that there is still a lot of work apart from the education
yes,
side.
we are aware of that. We
The
are aware of that.
integration of the process.
Yes, integration, right.
There's
yes.
still-
But
yes.
Petra, you also have to remember something, that not that we're being compared to larger countries, but you also have to realize that the resources that we have to do this sort of work is that, for instance, as Mr. Michael said, he has friends. So he's able to call and say, listen, I have a situation. Even he probably have 2 police friends he can call and say, listen, I have a situation, I need you here now. If you go through the proper channel, it may not be as effective as it is. That's why there's a network. Within a network, there's a network. There's persons that you can call and say, listen.
Yeah, but I think the from your end, I'm just saying collectively, there is an awareness that this happens.
Right.
Yes.
That there's this network that is designed to try to work towards circumventing the system. Right. So then, if we are aware that there's a network designed to circumvent the system, then the Human Trafficking Committee should be continuously making adjustments, moving the bar,
we are
so
indeed,
that they.
we are indeed doing that.
That is happening. And
we are indeed doing
there is
that.
intelligence too on the ground.
Yes, and
So
as
soon
I,
we can see a conviction.
and as I said earlier,
That's at the courts level.
and as I
That's
said,
at the courts
We
level.
don't convict people.
And as
Okay,
I,
then.
okay, before you go, as I said earlier, in terms of the revising of the law again, in order to keep it a trend within our society and around the world.
Standards.
Right?
Let me tell you my concern about revising laws. I'm going to use a very bad example to make my point. Very, very bad example. We have little laws on the books, right? We're not enforcing those laws, but we are going to be revising the laws to make it more stringent. Can we just work with the law that we have now, the human trafficking law that we have now, before we go to try and become more internationally compliant? Let's cross the I's, dot the T's. That don't make no sense.
No,
Dot
but-
the I's, cross the T's. Yes,
But
that's
if
it.
you're going down the road and you see that you're going to bump into something,
Right, you have to go back. You can go
have
back
to-
to the
you
box.
have-
Yes, you have to.
you have to address it.
You have to adjust it.
But part of the reason why we're bumping into things is that the road, we didn't fix the road to start.
Well, it's-
So
Accountability.
let's
Fix it.
smooth
Accountability.
Let's
Right.
smooth out the road.
Yes, but
Thank you,
it's-
Andy.
it's
Let
a
us get
learning
accountability.
process.
Agreed.
It's a process.
Agreed.
Right,
But
so
where are we
it's
now?
not going to be perfect, but the fact of the matter is,
Fix the road.
yes, we have to fix it. But I'm saying, anything you do an evaluation.
Agreed.
Right, I'm a teacher, so.
Feasibility
I know you
study and
And those sort of things.
So once you evaluate and you realize there is a weakness here, you have to address that weakness. You would want your child to be the best child in terms of getting the education in school, right? So I teach the child, I do the evaluation, I notice there is a weakness here in terms of his spelling or whatever it is. I have to put something in place. I have to address
I
it.
agree. But what I'm saying to you is that we have an issue where, as it stands now, yes, and we're wrapping up. Yes, we're wrapping up. Yes. You thought we wondering what we were going to do at the time, no? And time is gone. What I'm saying is, while we have to, you are going forward to remain international best standards. The challenge that we have on the ground is that the network, as you described, that has been set up, has not closed the loopholes so that we can ensure that the system is working as it's designed to. Meaning that, yes, we do the education. Yes, you get the word out. Yes, there are people who come forward and make and bring you cases and evidence and so on. But then we don't move the system beyond that to close the loop permanently.
but that's
We
something
just
that
keep
has
going
to
back.
be
We just
worked
keep
on.
stepping back in a loop.
But I don't see it that way. I see that the fact that you have different persons who should be held accountable at the different stages.
Same
And
thing
I
I'm
think-
saying.
Right, and I think that once everything comes into stream, because first of all, the human trafficking, a lot of persons are not aware of it, and those who are aware are not saying anything. A lot of
But why
persons-
should I say anything
No, hold
if
on.
I don't
No, I
see
mean-
any demonstrable?
No, I didn't mean it like, I mean, like, for instance, the ordinary person may not be educated enough on the human trafficking. That's why the education is important. And not only do we have to educate the public, but we have to educate ourselves too.
Yes.
And it is a process that you educate yourself, then you educate the
Others.
public. Then it keeps changing, it keeps going
And
up.
then you
but
have to keep going again.
you have to keep going
and
with it.
re-educating.
But at the same time, and as I said again, it's not a one person thing or one committee
A one
thing.
agency.
A one agency. It's a
multi.
multiple, and everybody needs to pull their weight. And I can understand that probably other persons are not pulling their weight, because once the matter comes out of the human trafficking, an investigation is done and they escalate it, they no longer have control of that situation.
I understand.
Unless they need to revert to something that only they can do. But so everybody needs to play their part. We may not be doing it effectively, but I'm not going to say that we need to close the gap next week. It's something that takes time.
Hold on. Here's what I'm saying. I agree with you, but we're out of time. What I want to see is just let everybody just say something very quickly so that we can wrap up. What I'm saying is that we recognize that human trafficking is a critical issue that needs to be addressed soonest. The work has begun. What value is it if the human trafficking committee or team does all of this work, does the education, does everything, knows that it has partners along the path, and then the partners do not play their role to ensure that we close the loop and reduce the incidences of human trafficking?
What we have to do is to advocate
And
for
encourage.
those partners.
Okay,
because
so guess what?
And,
We're going to have a
and,
part
and, and yes, we must. And then if I can piggyback on what Andy said earlier in terms of holding other persons or agencies accountable, is all about accountability.
So, Mrs. Ennis, I'm putting on the challenge to you because you're the anchor here.
Am I
Mr.
the
Michael?
anchor?
Yes, I'm going to explain.
All holding down
No.
the anchor.
Goal is to make sure that we are aware. Miss Stevens has her particular stakeholder group, and while she looks after her stakeholder group, she's also looking at the general picture and so on. I am extending an invitation. I will find time. We have a packed agenda, but I'll find time where you bring some of the other stakeholders, the ones who now move past the work that trafficking does and it escalates upwards, for us to have a conversation with them as to how we get the system moving to the next level.
So you want
You
So
want the
you need-
police.
you want
So-
doctors and
so you
I
need to-
I don't want doctors.
So they have medical. They have the medical aspect of
I
trafficking.
want
You
the
have-
legal
you have
framework.
legal framework.
That is what I want.
You have.
I want the police. I want to know, how is it possible that if I am held and charged for human trafficking violation, that I can go back and open my operations and over time go right back to doing the same thing I was doing while I am waiting for this one case. I want to know that.
That's a serious kind of worms.
Yes, no, but if we don't tackle the real issues, then we won't be able to
Agree.
close
I'm
the
sure-
loops.
I'm sure the
So, Miss
police.
Innes, you gonna find somebody for me?
I'm sure the police and the other agencies, they are listening and they
Yes.
are hearing you loud and clear.
So I want you to help me
And,
find some persons to come back with you or somebody else. If you don't want to come back, I hope you will come back.
Again, I'm sure that the police and other agencies are listening and they're hearing you loud and clear. It's a very good point in which you have raised, but then we have to indeed see exactly how we can work around person's schedule in terms of coming back, because we need to keep this
It's
topic
4 to
alive.
6.
All right,
It's after work.
Okay, we need to keep this topic alive in terms of human trafficking.
Yes.
And if we are to look at our theme for this year activity, human trafficking.
I have 1 minute before we get thrown off.
And know the facts. Know the facts.
No, the fact.
And
Human
that's the
tra-
facts.
Right,
We
that's the
need
fact.
to know why.
Human trafficking is an illegal act,
Right.
so we know that, right? So
And
we can end
on
on
that
on
note, I want to thank the three of you for coming in. It's been a most interesting discussion. The time flew away from us. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this discussion this afternoon was eye-opening. I've already challenged my panel to bring me some of those other stakeholders. And I want to thank those who came today. Mr. Michael, Education, the union representative, Ms. Stevens, and of course, Ms. Ennis. Are we going to hook up on something else again after this, I suspect. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this is We Are The Ones. We can't even play the theme song to go out because we are already 5 minutes over time and into the time for them to get ready for the news. So on that note, I want to thank you, gentlemen, and ladies. And I'd like to thank Mr. Samuel for that very interesting discussion we had before. Next time we bring human trafficking, you're getting the full 2 hours, nobody else. Over and out. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.